let's have a look at these G1 cores. So, we did cover Brainstorms in the last video, and I did say that it is getting a buff. I'm quite disappointed though that, don't want to get sort of big headed, but a lot of the sort of changes that I sort of asked for have come in these G1 cores, but not to the extent that I would have liked, really. Brainstorm G1 increases special ability damage by 27.5% and provides 66% protection from laser turrets and beam lasers. So this was lower than an EO core to begin with, and I sort of said in playtest to the, developers, to the apes, I said, listen, no one is going to chase a G1 core unless it really gives them an advantage. And I said that this provides 66% protection from laser turrets. Laser turrets are probably the worst defense in the game right now. No one looks at a base and even considers laser turrets. Maybe if they're anti-air to a degree. You have the beam lasers with Cybertron charge, so obviously really damaging. And beam lasers, if they hit your bots, they're in danger. Even with 66% protection, if my gunners were getting hit by a beam laser, I would be worried even at 66% protection. So the protection part from laser turrets and beam lasers is here and there. So the main reason I'm going for this G1 is for the special ability damage. Now, at 27.5% is 1% more than an EO core. Now, am I going to chase Brainstorm's G1 and level it up to max for 1% and protection from laser turrets and beam lasers? No, I'm not really. If that was like 5%, if it gave 30% extra damage, then yeah, I'd probably go for this. But 27.5%, it's not a core that I'm really going to chase. And then next up, we've got Impactor. So it does more than Amalgamous, 15.5% up to 19.3%. That's a nice increase, probably G1 core. But from talking to other people about Impactor, he really needs that healing that he gets from Amalgamous. He desperately needs that. And I just think the Quick Blast wasn't ideal, really. I would have rather given him some sort of healing. When I said that the Quick Blast doesn't add much in terms of damage, I actually meant to get rid of it and change it, but they've increased it from 3 times DPS to 4. And again, an extra 1k damage is not that considerable, really, if that. So, not the best. It's good for his ability damage, but is it better than Amalgamous? I'll let you guys decide. But I'm not really convinced that it is. Next up, we've got Red Alert and Runamuck. So, Red Alert, Runamuck there, G1 core, 15% to bot's health. Every 12 seconds, create a protective shield that blocks 40% damage. So, obviously, this is negated by FFD, but I think, pretty sure that all Red Alerts and Runamuck's ability does anyway. So, it's irrelevant regardless. If it's going to affect his ability, it's going to affect this. But I like it. It's added health to him, makes him a bit more tanky. And I like the shields, give him a bit more survivability. So, yeah, decent core. Again, I don't think like it's wow, I need to get this core. But if I pulled it, I would definitely level it and I would definitely stick it on Red Alert. So, yeah, a pretty decent core. Then we've got Slash and Ripper Snapper. So, 15% to bot's health and turns the bot invisible for 7 seconds every 15 seconds. So, for half of the time, she's invisible. And the bot also deals 1.5 more damage when invisible. And the problem is Slash is the pathing and lack of health. So it gives 15% health, but let's be honest, 29k health with that 15%, it's not really that considerable, really. 30k health in today's sort of game is not that considerable. So I think it's really good on defense. I think turning the bot invisible for 7 seconds out of 15 would be really, really good on defense. So I think if you have Slash and an outpost, this would be quite considerable. I'm actually considering getting this core, maxing it out, and putting Slash in an outpost. So yeah, very good if you're going to use Slash on defense. If you're going to use it on attack, I don't think this has made her relevant in wars or anything like that. Maybe a bit better for leveling, but it's still the same as Megatronus in terms of damage, pretty much. So Megatronus gives you 45% extra damage to targets in melee range, but that's kind of in an area, it's kind of around the bot. Whereas this one just gives you 1.5, which is like 100%, so very similar to the target to damage that you're targeting, so one target. So it's actually less damage with the G1 than Megatronus gives. So less damage than Megatronus, a bit more health, but it does turn the bot invisible. Increases the survivability, I suppose. So not a bad core slashers. I'm not over the moon with it, but it's not too bad. Then we come to Snarl. And the conversation of Snarl was pretty much that this bot is pretty much dead and buried. The big problem with Snarl is that you can give it whatever, but it doesn't survive. But it increased accessibility damage by 20%, which is again more than the Amalgamous, so that's pretty good. But adds a new long-range fireball attack, dealing triple DPS. So they have sort of increased the AoE of this, I believe, but it's still not considerable enough to make Snarl relevant. Even with ability 11 now, even with the G1 core, Snarl's pretty much got everything that he can get within reason. And short of a rework, I can't see Snarl becoming a war bot at the top level of the game anytime soon. Then we've got Windblade. So Windblades, so I did say that all the attacks healed you for 4%, I think it was, or 3%. I just said that's definitely not enough. It needs to be a lot more. So they've increased that to 12%. So when we look at the stats now, it's 12% of damage done. So when she does about 10k damage, that's about 1,200 health she will gain back. But it's still not enough. I would honestly make that like 30%. I really would. The reason for that is that when you send Windblade in, she's then becoming the focus of all that attack. And yes, she gets a shield, but what is an FFD? That negates that shield. But let's just even say there's no FFD. You'll send her in, it blocks 8% of damage. That's brilliant. For 5 seconds. That's not a lot. 5 seconds is not a lot. She's great at taking one target out, but she's not very good at surviving after that. And so for 5 seconds, she's great, but after that, she's going to really struggle. And so she needs that sort of jump in health. And 12%, 1,200 is, like, what? It's not even 10%. It's like 5% health. So it's not really that considerable. Yes, she does damage around per second, but it's only 456. So maybe 2k healing, but it's not a lot, is the point I'm making.